Hello, welcome back to the podcast Journey to Well. My name is Hannah. Today we are doing a really fun conversation blending a little bit more in-depth human design and leadership, self-worth. We get to hear Sarah's story. We have a lot of fun conversation coming your way. So let me briefly introduce you, Sarah. Sarah Barnes-Humphrey is an entrepreneur, best-selling author, self-worth advocate. She also has not one, but two podcasts, which we'll get to. So she's the founder of Let's Talk Supply Chain and Blended. So somebody that has their hands in a lot of different pots, and I'm very interested to hear what led you here to where you are specifically in your life, Sarah. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And I just said this is my favorite question, but who is Sarah and what's a little bit of your story?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on the show and congratulations to you because, content creation, podcasts, it's not easy and you've done a really great job with yours and curating some cool content for your audience. So,
Thank you.
congratulations on that. Um, so yeah, Sarah Barnes-Humphrey, I didn't start off in content creation. I mean, I spent 25 years in supply chain and logistics. We had a family business, and I spent majority of, my career and sort of my journey in that industry. Like we talked about it at the dinner table when I was 9 years old. So I feel like it's in my blood. But I started this podcast back in 2016 while I was director of sales and marketing. And it was at a time where not a lot of people listened to podcasts, but I wanted to start it. I asked a guy from a colleague to come and be my co-host, and we called it Two Babes Talk Supply Chain because I wanted to see how far we could push the industry. And then 10 days before my 37th birthday, my dad closed his doors and I was out on my butt with nowhere to go.
Wow.
But I had companies paying to come on the show, so I had obligations to fulfill, even though I didn't know how to. I had to learn graphic design, social media, website design, you name it,
Mm.
to try to put out a podcast episode because I lost my team. I lost my team. I lost my co-host.
Wow.
Um, and in January 2018, I started the Woman in Supply Chain series because I wanted to learn more about how women navigated the industry and like their career path and what did that look like. And by April, no women would come on a show called Two Babes Talk Supply Chain. So I had to rebrand it to Let's Talk Supply Chain, which is probably the craziest week of my life. Because if anybody's tried to change, I think our slug for our podcast, like our podcast hosting thing, is still Two Babes. Because you
Oh,
can't change that. If you change it, you like lose everything.
yeah.
The woes of content creation. Yeah, and so I just sort of started out on that journey and tried different things. There wasn't really anybody that I could emulate and really understand what it was that I was doing to be successful in that industry. But I worked two part-time jobs while I was starting this business. I didn't pay myself for 3 years. So, but now we're a team of 18 people, which is awesome. And in 2020, I actually expanded our podcast to blended podcasts because I wanted to talk more about inclusion in the workplace, not just gender. I knew it wasn't just about gender.
Mm.
And so I started blended because it was like a red table talk for podcasts. And a year later, I actually transitioned into a nonprofit called the Blended Pledge. And we give grants to cover travel expenses so that diverse voices can say yes to speaking engagements. So lots going on, but really, that's the short version of sort of my journey into all of this. And then my personal brand with the self advocacy, the self-worth advocacy came about in 2024. So, yeah.
It sounds like a lot of finding your voice, using your voice, standing up for yourself, of all of those kind of have a link throughout your podcast. I mean, just podcasting in general, right? Using
Yeah.
your voice. But all of that and the self-worth advocacy and journey. Can we dive in there, I guess? Like
Yeah.
I'm always curious, what has your journey been in discovering your self-worth? Let's even start with like, what does self-worth mean to you? I love definitions. If you've listened to my podcast before, I feel like I'm just obsessed with like the definition. Let's have a really strong basis, because
Mhm.
I think that that's really important when we're talking about these terms that we hear all the time, right? Like self-worth, self-love, self-advocacy, all of those things. But what does that mean to you? And then we'll dive into your journey with it.
It's such a great question. And I think it means different things to different people because I'd
Okay.
love to ask that question back to you, once, I share my perspective. But
Mm,
it's one of the reasons why I wrote the book.
yeah.
So the book is called I Buried Her in a French Press, and it's all of my collection of stories about how I found my voice
Mm,
and how we show up in the world. I think that self-worth really boils down to how we feel about ourselves, how we feel about ourselves in certain situations or in situations in general, and how we actually show up
mm,
for not only ourselves, but the world or the people within our lives and stuff like that. And that really is a reflection of our self-worth and how we feel about ourselves. And
mm,
it's interesting because I'm working on a second book. And the book is going to be a compilation of stories from other people, mostly women,
mm.
about how they feel about self-worth. What
Wow.
does that mean to them? What does it actually mean to them? What does that look like? And I think it's so interesting because we get so caught up in the fact that this one word has to mean the same thing to everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're slowly unraveling that and realizing that everybody is a person holistically in and of itself, whether it comes down to medical, right? Where,
Yeah.
one diet isn't good for everybody necessarily. It might
Lord,
work for
no.
the short term, but not necessarily the long term, right? And everybody has different attributes to themselves and they have different ways of thinking about certain words. And it's not good, bad, wrong, right. And we get so caught up in what's right and what's wrong
Mm,
of how people think about things. And I just, so that's why I think it's interesting around this one word, how
mm,
it differs between each of us. So, what do you think self-worth means?
yes, I love this conversation. And that's something I talk about all the time. Like, I use the example of diets actually,
Yeah.
because we watch someone on Instagram, right? And they share, I lost X amount of pounds on X diet, and
Right.
I'm going to take you through the entire thing and I'll show you how to lose weight as well. And then it doesn't work for us. And then we think something's wrong with us.
Uh,
And that's not the case. It might just not work for your body type. And actually, I will answer your question, but actually, that is one of the reasons I started obsessing over human design, because it shows you, it's like this blueprint that can show you your energy, how your energy best moves through the world, your personality, like the way that you are. It
mhm.
shows you how you digest information and food most easily, or I always say easily. It shows you all of these different aspects, how you travel, like the best way that you can travel. Do you like, should you go to, not should you, um, is your design more apt to go to the same vacation spot or a similar vacation spot or somewhere new? And there's so many different areas of human design. And to me, it really is rooted in this: when we think that we're different, we think that something's wrong with us.
Right.
And that's not true. And that does play a direct role in your self worth. So for
Yes.
me, self worth is all about worthiness, feeling worthy. And that comes from, I believe it comes from knowing who you are, liking who you are, and being authentic and feeling that you're able to authentically express yourself through
Mhm.
this world in whatever capacity that is, whether that's your job, your business, your relationships, your interactions with old people at the grocery store, whatever it is. Do you feel that you're authentically you? And autonomy is a big word I feel like I hear on podcasts these days, but do you feel that you have autonomy over your life? And I think that that really plays a huge role in self-worth and feeling worthy. And I agree with you. It really starts with yourself, and how you feel about yourself is going to be how you outwardly act. I mean, it's
Yeah.
going to affect every area of your life for sure.
Yeah, I think it's also about like taking off the pressure.
Mm,
You talked
yeah.
about liking yourself and that being part of self-worth. But I think at the end of the day, if it's 40% today, 60% tomorrow, and 100% on the following day,
Mm,
if we take the blame and the shame out of it,
yeah.
what does that look like for us, right? We take the pressure off of ourselves. We take the blame and shame out of it.
The
So
judgment.
when you talk about self-worth being how much we like ourselves, it's changing on a daily basis and sort of being okay with that ebb and flow of what that looks like for us.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And taking that judgment out of it. And I think,
Wow.
at
So
least in
hard.
my experience, that's a big one. In my experience, I have been able to, it's not even this work that I've done to take out the judgment, I don't think, or take out the shame, but the more that I've understood myself, the more I've noticed the judgment goes away. And it's probably age too, not that I'm like old, but I definitely do feel that as I've aged, I genuinely just don't care what people think. And I don't know where that came from. The only thing that I can say is that I understand myself more. And like I know that I need to go to bed. I need to be in bed between 9 and 10. Like that's just me. And it used to be again like I think when you're in it depends what culture you're in. When you're in
Yeah.
college and we're
Mhm.
staying up till 2 a.m., I did that. Of course I did. But did I feel good? Absolutely not. And
Right.
some people are morning people, some people are night people. And the culture that I was in that celebrates staying up late, it made me feel like something was wrong with me. Why can't I
Right.
stay up? Why don't I want to go out? Why don't I want to go to the club, every day of the week? What's wrong with me? And when I guess, yeah, I guess it's a culture thing too, because I was going to say I didn't really learn that I was a
Hmm.
morning person, but when I shifted my culture, my community, my outward setting, then I was really able to kind of settle into, yeah, I go to bed
Hmm.
early and that's okay with me.
Yeah.
That's just
But
a
it's
small
also,
example.
progress over perfection, right? Like
Yeah.
self-worth is a journey. You're not going to have it
Mm,
100% every single day. Well, that's what the book is about,
yeah.
right? Is really understanding what you've been through in your journey,
Mm,
reflecting kind of back on what you learned from that. I don't want to use the word failure because it's very, very, very negative,
uh-huh.
right? And I don't think we actually fail at anything. I think things just shift in a way that might not be for you anymore. That
Yeah.
person might not be for you. That situation might not be for you. And I think
Mm,
if we get used to the feeling of progress over perfection and the fact that I'm 40% today, tomorrow's a new day. Let's see where we're at. And if we're at 60%, that's progress. If we go
mm,
back to 50%, doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that we've fallen backwards. It
yeah.
just means that day, that's what our progress looks like. And I think
Mm,
we just get like too caught up in these like pressure loops
yeah.
from ourselves, from society, the judgment,
Yeah.
and there's so much that we can just learn from what we've been through and how we handle something and maybe how we want to handle something differently the next time.
Mm. And how we are just as a society, there's this pressure of always being at 100%, which
Right.
a lot of my work also is cycle work. So I have to show, like, I have to come from that perspective as well of as a woman and you work again, like I love this book. I can't wait to read your new book, by the way, of interviewing like what self-worth means to other people. And again, in my world, in my lens, having this knowledge of our cycle, like literally our hormones are different. So you're not going to be at
True.
100% or even
Mhm.
80% every single day. And then my
Mhm.
other thought would be, how do you define progress? How do you define productivity? Like today I wasn't productive. Why? Like what did
Mhm.
you not do that feels unproductive and almost like constantly not crazily reinventing that, but like can I loosen my blinded view of what progress and productivity is to Oh, I got the kids out of bed. I got myself out of bed. Can that be productive? On like right before your period when you're fucking exhausted? Like, can
Mhm.
that be your productivity versus
Sure.
I made all my marketing reels and I made all my client calls and I hit all of my quotas for the day. That's honestly, it's just not going to happen. So what if
Mhm.
how would that feel if we took that pressure off of ourselves?
Yeah.
Allowed that that exhale of, oh, I was still productive. What does progress, what does productivity mean for you, and how has that shifted over your journey?
Yeah, and I think you're right. Like you hit it on the nail on the head is that progress looks different every day and it looks different for people just in general,
Yeah.
right? I mean, my what I think success looks like versus what you think success looks like for you in your world are going to be two completely different things. And so progress towards that, or maybe it's progress towards forgiving somebody,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Forgiveness is my word this year. And
Mm.
so for me, every
Wow.
day, navigating through that word and what it means for me, like forgiving myself for certain things, maybe forgiving other people for other things so
Mm.
that I can get some stuff out of my head
Yeah.
because I'm just constantly battling some old discussions and
Mm.
different things like that. You know what I mean? Because that's a form of punishment on yourself as well. Is that sort
Mm-hmm.
of like recycled habit of, trying to remember something that was hurtful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I do that. But anyways, I've totally gone off script for this one.
No. And forgiving
But
yourself for not
I,
forgiving yourself that day too.
right. So, like, the example for me is around this word forgiveness for this year. Is
Yeah.
that one day I'm going to be like, totally like, no, I forgive you. I wish you well. I love you and I miss you, And
Mm-hmm.
that's how I'm going to start my day. And I'm not going to think about it again.
Mm.
Or I start the next day and I'm revisiting all these things. And then I'm like, okay, wait a second. So, progress for me is awareness that day.
Wow. Ooh,
Progress for
I
me
love
the day
that.
before is that I've actually verbalized it, let it go, and haven't thought about it for the rest of the day. You see
Hmm.
what I mean? So I
Yes.
feel like sometimes a lot of this pressure is so like man-made in the fact that we've got to do all these amazingly
Yeah.
public things that
Yeah.
make us look like good human beings. When realistically, it's what happens in the dark, in those moments where you're being pulled down to say,
Mm.
wait a second, no, 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 not for me today. And
Yeah.
that's the progress that
Mm.
happens. And the
Mm.
stuff that really matters that we need to take note of and be proud of ourselves for. It's one of the reasons why I don't like New Year's resolution.
Mm. Me
I
neither.
think that they are like so detrimental to our health and our self-worth
Yeah.
because the blame and shame.
Yep.
You don't do something for your resolution 2 days in, and it's like, oh, here we go.
And then we
That's me.
quit. Right.
Yes. We quit on ourselves. Why?
Yeah.
Because we may have set the goal too high. Okay. So what?
Mm-hmm.
Reestablish the goal and try again.
Mm. Mm.
Make it smaller.
Or too many goals. I feel like we have so many goals and we don't know why we're setting a goal. That's my biggest thing. That was my biggest thing a few years ago. Like, okay, I want 10 new clients this month. Why? Because
Right.
Sarah told you or she had 10 new clients. She was posting about 10 new clients that she got in December. Great for her. Congratulations. But do you need, can you handle 10 new
Right.
clients? Do you need 10 new clients? What if you get 10 new clients and they're terrible clients? Are they
Yeah.
aligned client? Like there's so many aspects to these New
Mhm.
Year's resolutions. And right, again, the pressure. Why in January? Like
Yes.
seasonally, that's the worst time. First of all, everyone just wants to take a nap. And
I know I do.
also, like, why is there one month, one day where we're like, all right, let's lose 20 pounds, let's increase our business
Yeah.
by 120%. And like, what? Have you laid any sort of foundation? I think all of that, yeah, clearly I have strong
Well,
feelings about New Year's.
and just to just piggyback on that just a tiny bit. So one of the things that I like to challenge my audience is to pick a sustainable development goal for the
Ooh,
year. and do something towards it, either a
Yeah.
quarter, a month, I mean, daily if you're really feeling it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it takes us outside of ourselves
Mm.
and takes a look at what's going on in the world and where they might need some of our help and our magic
Mm.
and whatever that looks like. And it makes it about us providing impact rather than self centered on us as an individual that turns into blame and shame. Because
Yeah.
if you're able to work through and pick a goal like that that's going to help something or somebody or the environment or have a purpose, give you a purpose for it
Mm.
that resonates with you, then
Yeah.
it then takes it outside of yourself and you know that you're making a difference, which
Mm.
changes the motivation behind it, I think, too. So,
And
anyway.
I think takes off the pressure as well.
Yeah.
Like when it feels
Mhm.
like it's not all about you, I think the things that I've done that are more other related, I do
Mhm.
feel that I place less pressure on myself, which would be a good practice to then how
Yeah.
can I also carry that over to all of the other goals that I have or all of the other intentions that are more self-centered and see if that's helpful. That's a good one. I like that.
That and the word of the year. I sort of
Yes,
picked
I
both of
do.
those.
I always have done a word of the year, and that's nice because you can also then reflect next January. How
Hmm.
have I embodied that word? How has this word shifted over time? I think that's the other thing that I wanted to bring up when we're talking about redefining progress and redefining productivity and perfection is so you may know, I don't know. I was going to say, I'm sure you know, but you may or may not know. Like our entire body regenerates with every 7 years. So literally 7 years from
Oh,
today, you're going to be biologically like the cells in your body, your skin cells have all shed and you have completely new skin, like oh, your hair follicles,
okay.
everything, every 7 years. So with that and the knowledge that we are constantly changing, how has that been for you in your journey in that redefinition of like productivity of and letting that go? I think what I'm really trying to get at is that I know me, like there are these mindsets. When you were talking about mindsets, you kind of sparked that you triggered this thought of can I redefine like even forgiveness or forgive myself for, kind of getting stuck in these thought patterns that maybe I had years ago, something happened and actually allowing ourselves to change. Like can I actually allow myself to fully give that up? What would that feel like? What would that look like? How has that journey been for you?
It's been a lot of therapy.
Let's
I mean, let's just be real.
be
I
honest.
I have been
Oh, I
in
love
therapy
that.
since my early 20s. I am now
Love it.
45.
Mm,
And I have also tried all sorts of forms of therapy
mm,
and spirituality to also see what resonated with me the most and made the most impact for me.
mm,
So there's talk therapy, there's hypnotherapy, there's intuitive healing, there's generational healing,
mm.
right?
It's a
And
big one.
and there's even more than that. There's like energy healing and like all that kind of stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
I'm into all of it. And I really believe to try everything once
Yeah.
because you really don't know what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what you like and what you don't like until you try something. And so when we talk about my journey, it's been a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of working through some of my, like I have an autoimmune and I talk about that in the book.
Mm,
And that really took a toll
yeah.
a lot of times on my self-worth.
Mm,
I'm a step parent. That is a hard one, like a
yeah.
really hard one. And I
Yeah.
definitely needed therapy through that.
Yeah, I believe.
And so my journey has, for me to sort of get to this point, and by no means am I at that destination. I know that there is still work on a day-to-day basis to be able to do that. And that's what this book is all about.
Mm,
It's like I've lived through these things. I've lived through these things that has happened, and I showcase how I found my voice again and again And again, through all of these events that had happened throughout my life, but also I used those events to also figure out what my superpower is. And
Mm,
every single one of these therapy sessions was a pebble, and you'll hear me talking about it in the book. Not just the therapy section, but like one of these events that happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, they're all sort of these stepping stones
mm,
into who you are today,
yeah.
right? They're all sort of making you into who you are today, the lessons learned, how you get triggered, right?
Mm,
How you move through being triggered,
mm-hmm,
some of that trauma that
mm-hmm,
happened, you know, reflect on all of it, see what your superpower is. And I think once you really understand the impact that you can make or that you want to make in the world and what your superpower is, and there's no pressure in that. I
yeah.
didn't find mine until I was 44.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's no pressure in that whatsoever. But if you start being aware of different things, and I don't know if I answered your question, but
No, that's
it definitely
great.
took a lot of therapy, and I'm still on the journey. Like, there's
Yeah.
still so much more to discover as to who I am, what I'm capable of, what I want to do, what I don't want
Mm,
to do. I'm constantly learning all of that. And I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur, I have many different businesses. I've got a lot of people that work with me, and some people work out, some people don't. Some of
mm,
the ideas work out, some of them they don't. Some of them I'm failing publicly.
yeah.
And everybody's sort of like, "How do you do that?" I was like, "I don't really know, but I'm just going to sundown it and we're going to go and we'll see what happens."
Yeah.
Because it didn't work. I tried
Yeah.
it, it didn't work. Maybe it'll resurrect later on as something else with a different name, and everybody's going to love it and it's going to be great.
Yeah. No, but it's true. It's what you said earlier that we don't really fail. We learn. And maybe the failure quote is learning how something doesn't want to go, learning how it's not
Yeah.
working. And again, right, maybe it's just right now. That's a good point
Mhm.
too. It doesn't mean that it's not, maybe it will never work again or ever. It's just right now this isn't working, and how can you twist and make some adjustments, and maybe then it's going to be successful. And again, what is success
Yeah.
to you?
But
But
that's the perfection part of it that we get
yeah,
wrapped up in.
yeah, yeah,
So instead of making progress, we're like, oh, this isn't perfect. I can't put it
yeah.
out there. I can't start it. I can't launch it. I can't.
Mm-hmm,
And so your progress gets hindered
mm-hmm.
because you think everything needs to be perfect. And I'll tell you, I am not a graphic designer. Those those social cards that went out for those early episodes,
Mm-hmm.
they sucked.
I actually really like that. That's one of the things that I say about my YouTube channel is it took me a year to
Mhm.
start my YouTube channel solely because I kept talking myself out of it,
Right?
thinking, kind of like it's not going to be good enough. Like I don't have a camera. I am not a video editor. So go watch
Right.
the archives of my YouTube channel and laugh at my video editing because I do that sometimes. But so many reasons, right, that I talked myself out for a year. And finally I arrived at this knowledge and this belief that you'll never be ready. You really won't, because nobody starts with a million followers. Nobody starts with a graphic design degree and a blah, 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 blah. Like
Right.
maybe you are a graphic designer as an entrepreneur, but you don't have the other knowledge either. And so I knew, like, I went into it almost knowing
Mhm.
that it was going to suck. Not that I was going to suck, not that what I was saying was terrible, because I believed in what I was saying, but how I was saying it, I was so awkward. I would write down all of my notes for the whole thing. And like you see me, and I tried to edit out like when I'm looking over at my notes, but you still see a little bit of me like looking over. It's so terrible. It cracks me up, but I did it. And one of the compliments that I get oftentimes now, 4 years later, is, oh, you look so comfortable on camera, like on my social media
Right.
channels, on my podcast, like you're so comfortable. Babe, it's because I've been doing it for so long, and
Right.
not even that long. Like, let's see where I am in 10 years. I still don't think I'm great, but like I've made progress.
Mhm.
And that starting when you know that it's going to suck and releasing that perfection. And trust me, I tried to make it perfect. Like, it's not that I didn't try to make it perfect, but I also knew it wasn't going to be perfect. And you
Hmm.
can apply that to literally anything, not just starting your own YouTube channel, but
Yep.
you just maybe think of that idea, because we do get so stuck in the perfectionism, and that really can. Did that
Hmm.
hold you back? Like, I mean,
No.
you started the podcast. Just like, how long did it take you to start a podcast?
So I will say that is one thing that I don't have a problem with is
Wow.
perfection because I
Wow.
will literally do something and put it out there and just see what happens.
Love that.
Um, one of the examples is blended. So
Mm,
the blended podcast, I bring five different people from different walks of life together to talk about inclusion in the workplace. And the reason why I tell you that part of it
yeah.
is because I would get caught up in the fact that I would have five people lined up for the show and two people would show up
Oh,
and I would get upset.
yeah.
But then I was like, well, wait a second. What am I getting upset at? We are talking about some of the most difficult topics.
Yeah.
People are going to get in their heads and they're going to think that they're not good enough. And
Mm,
they are not the people who should be talking about this topic. And so they are going to drop the day before, they are going to drop the day of, and they are going to send all sorts of excuses as to why they're not coming and they're not showing up for that show today. And
mm,
so it was up to me to change the mindset into whoever is meant to be here for this conversation will be here.
mm.
And whatever they have to resolve because they didn't show up because of whatever they had in their head is not my problem to bear.
Wow.
And that was on me. That wasn't on them. That was on me.
Yeah.
And it made it so much easier to then walk through this path of podcasts about inclusion when I took the pressure off. And yeah, if I've got one person out of five that has said yes or shows up, I can't do a podcast with one other person. The whole idea of the podcast is different perspectives. So yeah,
Right.
sure. One person, I'll reschedule it. But
Yeah.
if I have a minimum of two people and there's three of us in total, game on.
Mm,
And I don't think any more about those other people.
yeah.
Like it doesn't come up because it's on them. If
Wow.
they didn't show up that day and they want to be part of it, they'll message me again. And
Hmm.
then it's up to me whether I'm going to go through that again or not.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so realistically, it's all about, choices.
Mm,
And so no,
mm.
I've never been caught up on it, but also I've had a lot of indications along the way. Like the episodes that have the worst audio are the ones that are the most listened to. They
Of
have the most
course.
downloads.
Of
So
course.
I pay attention to these things,
Yeah.
right? And then that helps me not get caught up in perfection because people are listening anyways.
I love that. I think especially in the social media aspect, or I'm kind of looping podcasting and like
Yeah,
YouTube and
yeah.
podcasting in with
Mhm.
that. We can get so caught up in, does your grid look beautiful, and does
Oh,
your
I
is your
know.
podcast like adequately audio engineered and all of these things, and does it sound better? Absolutely. But to your point, does it make a difference? No. It really, I mean, and that's what I've been trying. That's what I try to. It's
Hmm.
really about your heart, I think, at the end of the day. Like, there's a huge energetic component between what you're putting out energetically and
Well, and listen, I mean,
appreciation.
part of the human experience is also that comparison part of it, right? And it's not
Yeah.
necessarily comparison to other people. You were just talking about the grid. I was talking to somebody the other day about our YouTube compared to somebody else's too.
Yeah.
But the human experience, right? It's not that we're going to get away from that.
Yeah.
But if we're aware of these different things and what it does to us,
Hmm.
because listen, there are some days that I go down a damn rabbit hole and I'm comparing it my our stuff to other people and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know. I don't know if I have that kind of energy. Like I don't know if I can match
Mm,
that and like I got to do some of this stuff too and da 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 da." Da. So it happens.
of course.
But then the next day I'm like, "No, no, no. Wait a second. You're doing a great job. People love what you're
Mm,
doing.
mm,
Let's pull up your big girl pants and let's keep it going." You
hmm.
know?
Hmm. It
So
comes
like
back
one
to the
day to
self-worth.
wallow, one day
Yeah.
to, pull up your pants and get going.
No, and I think that does come back to the self-worth. It's not always feeling worthy, always
Yeah.
feeling like you're not comparing yourself, because you're right,
Right.
we're human. We're wired to avoid change. We're wired to compare. Like there's a
Difficult
lot of these
conversations.
wirings that are just part of us being human. But it is that I would bring in the word resilience. It's the resiliency, the ability. It's not the ability to not let anything bother you. It's the
Mm-hmm.
ability to hold yourself, to have the capacity to hold yourself through that. Yes, wallow, go for it. Go down your rabbit hole of, because something also can come from that, and you can have an idea of, oh,
Mm-hmm.
actually, what if I did this? Like that would be
Mm-hmm.
really cool when you allow yourself to compare. I mean, that's a weird perspective, but it's true. A lot can come from every emotion that you're feeling and everything that you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not staying there. And it's
Yeah.
not allowing it to hold you back, to
Hold you
stop.
back. Mm-hmm. Or hold you down,
Mm,
right? Because
yeah.
it could definitely hold you down for a couple of days. And I mean, if that's your MO and that's the way that you process,
Mm,
fine. There's nobody here that's going to tell you that you can't.
mm,
But on that third day, let's get up and do something. One of the thing
mm.
I don't suggest. So I am very big on facials. I love self-care. I'm very big on
Yes.
self-care. Um, but I don't sleep through facials because my mind is always going and I come up with the greatest ideas. And
Mm.
it's like right in the middle and I can't write it down. So I have to loop it and loop
Yeah.
it and loop it
Oh
around
God.
so I remember it so I can write it down
That
afterwards.
is so funny. Mine was a sound bath. I had like so many downloads during a sound bath, like the crystal bowls. And I
Yeah.
literally pulled out my phone like a psycho because everyone else's eyes were closed except for the practitioners. And
Mhm.
at the end, she's like, "Were you okay?" I'm like, "I'm so sorry, but
Well,
like it's great. I had so much to write down, but I did not relax at all during the sound bath. Like it just
such a
happens
great example.
in
It's a
in
great
opportunity."
example. You have like 6 or 7 people that are experiencing this sound bath at the exact same time,
Yeah.
but are having their own experience.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong, right,
Yeah.
about any of it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like similar to what we're talking about in self-worth
Absolutely.
and things like that. And you asked me what self-worth means. And
Mm,
one of the reasons why I chose that to focus on.
mm,
And I say self-worth advocate. I don't know everything about self-worth. I will be the first one to tell you that I am still dealing with it on a daily basis as to figure out. But one of my superpowers is to create safe space for conversation, no matter what
mm.
the topic is.
Yeah.
And so I not only work through and try to figure out my own self-worth, but I create safe space for conversation where I help others feel empowered through their voice
Mm,
and help them feel seen and heard. Right. And
yeah.
so it can mean different things to different people. And I
Mm,
think that's fine. And you don't need to know everything to get
mm.
started.
The journey. I mean, I think I shared this with you, but
Hmm.
my business is called Journey to Well, because well is not a destination. It's
Right.
not one day we're like, yep, I am so healthy. I have, perfect levels from my doctor. I walk all the time. My relationships are perfect. My business is thriving. Like, there's no way. We're never going to wake
Right.
up. That's not a reality. But
Hmm.
can I find well within the journey? Can I be well on the journey to well? Absolutely. Can I feel worthy? Can I have this self worth in this journey to
Hmm.
discover more of self worth? Absolutely. And that's going to change throughout your life as well. Your definition in 20 years, if you're still podcasting, I mean, I would love to hear that definition 20 years from now.
Yeah.
What is self worth to you? Because I would venture to guess that it's going to look different. It's going to have more depth and more shaping it, because you have 20 years of
Yeah.
experience in this self-worth. Like it's
Yeah.
it's going to change, and that's okay.
Well, and to that point, right, is that there's still things that we are discovering. So we
Yeah.
talk about like discovering things about ourselves, but even in the wellness,
Oh, yeah.
category,
Yeah.
even in the health category, even in the medical category. We are learning new things every single day. And so, if
Mm.
we're allowing those industries to evolve based on the different things that we're learning, why aren't we giving ourselves the same grade?
Mm. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Such a good point. Thank you. I have a couple more questions. My
Sure.
second to last question is you podcast all the time. You come on as a guest on podcasts. You have your own podcast. So this might be a tricky question because I feel like you have a lot of spaces to have
Mhm.
your voice be heard, but in in the aspect of even coming on other people's podcasts, what is something that you wish that we would talk about more or that you're asked to talk about more?
Um, I think self-worth. And I come back to that only
Yeah,
because it's not something that I have generally spoken about on my podcasts.
cool.
And going through this, I've been on a few different podcasts to talk about self-worth, to talk about the book.
Hmm.
And so I think self-worth is one of them, but also authenticity,
Mm,
right? Like understanding and reflecting. I think leadership too, but leadership and self-worth intertwined.
mm,
Because I think a lot of leaders can do more in this world and make more impact, not only in their day to day, but their team's day to day, by reflecting on some of the things that they've been through and really understanding their superpower.
wow.
And so those kind of things in general, I just don't know if we talk enough about because,
Mm,
I feel like everybody feels like they've got to walk through this world with like 100% confidence all the time.
mm,
And there's so much blame and shame that is so unnecessary. And listen, I do it too.
mm,
But if we talk about it a little bit more and we can talk about how to create that awareness and we're a little bit more vulnerable in what our story has looked like, I think there's so much more that we can do for not only ourselves and our healing journey, but then for others as well. Because they can
mm.
see themselves in you, right? They can see
That's it.
themselves in your journey and your stories, and it makes a difference.
Yeah.
Because it means that we don't feel alone.
You're unrelatable if you project yourself as infallible, that nothing,
Right.
especially as a leader, and whatever that definition of leadership or being a leader is for you, because we're
Mhm.
all, I just had a podcast and we were talking about leadership and he was saying we're all leaders. Like you're leading in something, whether you're leading your
Oh,
family, your
mhm.
relationship, you're a CEO, you're an
Yeah.
entrepreneur and you're leading a team. Like we're always leading someone. We are all leaders. And so that would mean that we all have this applied of yeah, how can I actually be vulnerable? And that's the hardest thing. We can
Mhm.
take all the leadership classes. So I love this connection of leadership and self-worth because you're right. I don't think that I've really heard that much
Mhm.
conversation around that and how am I really diving into myself, my life experience, and then can I share that
Mhm.
authentically in an
Yeah.
authentic way and that does make me relatable. It allows you when you give yourself permission, you're also giving your team, your people permission to be
Mhm.
human, which is just what we are.
And theoretically, it's light.
Yeah.
You're literally just sharing light back
Mm,
and forth and like giving
mm,
permission for somebody else to share their light.
yeah.
And the more that we do that, we create light within that world. The other thing I
Mhm.
would say too is not heavily editing episodes. And
Mm,
I'm not saying that you do this, but I just
I
say in
don't.
general, and I don't really ask. It's not really something that I ask a lot of people how much they edit, but some podcasts like edit out the ums and the ahs and I've never done that. Never, ever,
Me
ever.
neither.
And in on my blended podcast, sometimes I get called out for like using the wrong word or
Yeah.
saying the wrong
Oh,
thing or whatever. And I don't edit it out. I leave it in
wow.
because those are the magical moments that people understand that I don't think that I'm the expert. I'm just
Yeah.
the host creating the safe space. But also, this is how you have dialogue in
Mm,
how to figure out why what I would have said, and I was asking questions. They said you said the wrong thing, and I asked questions back. And
Mm,
this is how we have dialogue. And I think that is sometimes what's missing in some, heavily edited shows and episodes, that we miss the learnings around dialogue and how we can communicate with each other to actually have really impactful conversations.
I love that you said that because I have thought of switching to platforms, recording platforms that will edit out the ums. But you're reminding me that's why I started my
Yeah.
podcast the way I did, because I used to edit the shit out of my YouTube videos. I would edit out the myself, by the way. Anyone that's a video editor, like I bow down to you because it would take me, no joke, an hour to edit a 30-minute episode,
Right.
and that's like with really bad editing. That's not
Right.
even professional editing. But when I started my podcast, I said I'm not doing that anymore. And I don't.
That,
I tell my guests, I used to tell my guests, I will edit it if there's something huge that you need me to take out, or if there's, a loud crash or something. We don't want somebody listening to a podcast and have a heart attack. But I leave in the ums
mhm.
and the even searching, like if I ask a hard question and the pause, because I
Yeah.
want you to know that that person is processing, is thinking. It's not that they
Mhm.
have this answer, in their
Right.
back pocket and let me whip it out in 0.2 seconds. Like, let's be human. So thank you for that reminder. And hopefully that's inspiring to everyone to
Mhm.
bring a little bit more humanness
Humility.
to, oh, humility. Yeah.
Right.
To your
Hmm.
outward self, because again, yes, back to the light thing, like you being yourself and you being authentic is giving the other person the
Hmm.
permission to give themselves grace to at least explore that. Maybe they're not
Hmm.
there yet, or maybe they
Yeah.
explored in a different way, but you're sending the invitation, which is huge.
Hmm.
I love that. Where can people stay connected to you? Where can people find your podcast? Where do you hang out the most?
Instagram, I love Instagram stories. So Sarah Barnes Humphrey on Instagram. I've got sarahbarneshumphrey.com. That's where you can also find the book on Amazon, but you can find that on my website. The book is called I Buried Her in a French Press. I promise if you put that in the search bar, nothing else will come up.
I love that title, by the way. Love the book.
And there's like it's a book about finding your voice and the power of being heard. That's the subtitle. But anyways,
Mm,
and then LinkedIn. I actually spend a ton of time on LinkedIn.
yeah.
Let's Talk Supply Chain is on LinkedIn. Blended Pledge is on LinkedIn. That's the nonprofit and the podcast. So all of those places, and I really appreciate you for giving me the opportunity to let everybody know where they can connect with me.
Mm. That's my favorite part about podcasting is being able to connect people with
Hmm.
other people because we don't know what we don't know until we hear it.
Hmm.
Last question. Speaking of authenticity, what does authenticity feel like in your body?
What does it feel like?
Mm,
Mm, I don't know. I think it feels light.
mm,
I have a lot that sits right here.
mhm.
And it's like bad, right? When it's not good, I feel it in my throat
Yeah.
chakra. But I think authenticity when you're being yourself, I think it feels lighter.
Mm, mm.
I don't know if that answered your question. I don't know if it was a spot in your body, but
It's such an open question.
okay, good.
All of my ending questions are like toughies, but they're all related to somatic, like just an invitation to get back in your body. And
Hmm.
how does that feel? Often people answer in emotions or locations. So I love that. I just love like somatic work, and I know that you have some experience with it, but
Hmm.
somatic work, again, there's no right answer.
Hmm.
That's why I love when somebody hears like your answer. Oh, wait, does it feel like that in my body? Like, does it feel in
Hmm.
my throat or does it feel somewhere else in my body? And it gives them that opportunity to explore what authenticity feels like in their body. So, thank you for answering. I appreciate you.
Anytime.
Thank you so much, Sarah. This was such a fun conversation. I love podcasting with podcasters because I feel like we just have the best conversations. So thank you so much. And
Me
I
too.
appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me on the show. I really, really appreciate it, and for you creating this space
Mm,
and allowing me to be part of that.
mm, thanks.